Welcome, everyone, to the Oakland Center for Spiritual Living. I'm Reverend Ellie Hutchinson. I am a staff minister at OCSL. My pronouns are she and they, and I'll be your host tonight at our Wednesday night Oasis service. Oasis is a place where we come together midweek to get spiritually nourished and refreshed. Most Wednesday night services build on the theme of the previous Sunday, sharing Signs of Mind principles and practices with the intention that these gatherings be informal and intimate and interactive. Our annual theme at Centers for Spiritual Living for 2025 is Rising Higher, Growing Deeper. And our monthly theme for July is Rolling in the Deep. Last Sunday, Reverend Dr. Sunshine Michelle Coleman, our senior minister, introduced ideas inspired by this week's theme, Remember with the River Dolphins. And tonight, our speaker will continue the exploration of that same topic. For all newcomers, if you're new to our community or watching our recording for the first time, please visit our website at oaklandcsl.org, click on the I'm New icon, and look at the lower left-hand corner of that page to submit your email address. Once you do, you can begin receiving our newsletter, The Village News, once a week in your email. It has all the information about what's happening at our center in the coming weeks. Before we start with the talk, please mute your microphone if it's not already. That helps improve the quality of our recording and tonight's transmission. And you can leave your cameras on if you like. And finally, please stay tuned through the end of the service to hear several important announcements. Our speaker tonight is Megan Lemon, religious science practitioner. Megan is a practitioner with the Oakland Center for Spiritual Living for the past 2 years. She grew up in the Vallejo Center for Spiritual Living, attending church and taking classes since she was 16. In her professional life, she's a nurse practitioner with a focus of and a passion for serving vulnerable populations. She's a wife and mother of 3 girls and her 4-legged babies, Ginger and Ollie. She has a passion for wellness and spiritual principles and for using spiritual principles to guide her in all the areas of her life. So thank you in advance, Megan, for being our speaker tonight. But first, we always start with prayer. And I think perhaps we have a practitioner who is here to do our opening prayer tonight.
Yes.
Yay. So Maureen Milena, who's a religious science practitioner, will do our opening prayer this evening.
So just take a deep breath. And letting it out and letting out, knowing that that is the breath of life. That something that automatically comes to us, that we just do in our human experience. And recognizing that that miracle of being able to breathe without any thought on our part is the powerful divine intelligence that has created all of this existence and beyond. And that power, that intelligence is filled with love for its creation, for it provides for it, providing water and sun and vitamins and minerals and all the things that are needed for its creation to survive, to thrive, and to be right here and right now in this very moment. And as we come together as a community, Oakland Center for Spiritual Living tonight, as Megan brings her spiritual wisdom, allowing Spirit to pour into her and share the messages that are needed to be shared tonight. We open up our hearts and our minds, and we drop into the messages and the news that we need to hear that will ignite our consciousness just to go a little bit deeper. For that is our path to further connect our love, our harmony, and our balance with the one mind. And so with that, I bless our time together. I bless Megan as she shares her wisdom And so it is.
So it is.
Yes. Thank you, Maureen. And I will just turn this right over to Megan now.
Thank you. So as Reverend Allie mentioned, the talk title for the week is Remembering with the River Dolphin. So I found this topic a little interesting of how what does a river dolphin have to do with rolling in the deep in spiritual principles. So I went and I researched a little bit more about the river dolphin because I have to admit I didn't know much about the river dolphins. I've seen a couple of pictures before of river dolphins, but interestingly enough, these animals are thought to be mystical in a lot of different religions. There's some beliefs in Amazon areas that they are shapeshifters, that river dolphins can take the form of human beings in the night and kind of mesmerize them to have different experiences. So I thought that was interesting, that right away there is some spiritual connection to other communities where there's this mystical aspect of the river dolphins. Um, Other more scientific facts were that river dolphins evolved. They were able to evolve from a traditional dolphin. There's some belief that they are actually descendants of rhinoceroses, and that they were able to evolve to survive living in shallow waters and different currents, sometimes strong river, rushing rivers, are even shallow, murky, dirty water. So that um, idea of evolution, I think, is really the foundation of the spiritual connection to the river dolphin. Just because we are here as people to evolve, I think both spiritually, individually, and collectively, in our human experience and how we connect with the divine. So some of the other concepts for the week focused on interdependence, our interconnectedness, and personal power. And so understanding that our personal power, that we each hold, is really a spiritual principle, that I is probably one of the most important aspects, I think, in my life, is that it's the idea that if I am able to connect with that spiritual source, that essence that I believe that I am, then it starts with me first. And then I can take that out into the world in everything that I'm doing. So, this idea of interconnectedness really is a way to just recognize that God is all there is, that there is just this one life, this one expression, and we're connected to all of it. We're connected to each other, we're connected to the world, and everything that encompasses that. So, the focusing on the title of the river dolphin and understanding the aspects of this creature that had to evolve in order to survive, really. There was an evolution from potentially, they're saying, a land animal to becoming a dolphin. And it's, revered as the sacred creature. I think is the same concept that we can bring to ourselves, that we each carry, all of creation carries that sacred aspect of who and whose we are. And remembering that for ourselves and our community and the places where we show up in the world, whatever that is, and whether that's your personal life, your relationships, and how you participate in community. So before I knew the title of this talk, we also just celebrated Independence Day, 4th of July, which is an interesting time to celebrate independence with all that's going on in the world. Not feeling that certain liberties and rights are being taken away from a good portion of people in our society. Questions the concept and the idea of independence, and how much of, as a society, do we value our independence versus our interdependence, our interconnectedness. Because just as we know, as we say with Science of the Mind, that there's one life and I'm a part of that life is my life. It's the same concept, whether it's a societal contract or a spiritual principle. We're all somehow connected in that, and we not only need each other for that, we require that for our own self-expression, that you have a dependence on something or someone in the world to even be here today, whether that's your ancestors, the people that came before you, evolution of certain events in history that have allowed many of us to be in places and spaces we may not have been if it wasn't for other people moving forward, moving the needle, both spiritually and collectively as a society. So when we think of interconnectedness, there's a personal power, but without that personal power, there can be no collective power. And that's the beauty of it, is that there you can be one individual by yourself, but you're all still connected to the whole. And so it's the microcosm and the macrocosm. And when we think about that in spiritual principle, when we show up, when we do our work, when we practice, maintain our spiritual practices, whatever that is for you, whether it's meditation, prayer work, even just consciously being aware of your thoughts, then we bring that forth into the world. And we also give other people permission to do that for themselves, to express for themselves who they are and their unique gifts in the world. But it is deeply dependent upon some type of groundedness, some type of connection to someone else. And so when we think about that idea of remembering everything that's come before, so that we may be here at this place in our physical life and our spiritual evolution, it's to remember how we're connected, how we're grounded, both in spirit and in the other people in our lives, these spiritual beings that you're having this experience with. So I think that the idea of interconnectedness is knowing that we are all a part of creation. There's nothing, no one, no circumstance, no situation where God is not present. But how do we demonstrate that in our lives? How do we move? Do we move from that place of, especially when things are challenging or difficult, are we moving from that place of, this is someone in this divine idea, this divine concept that I know I'm connected with God? Oftentimes not so much, because we're having a human experience, we're having a judgment, we're having sometimes a personal block of something that we're not really connecting to the source. And so I think when it's time to really look at what really moves us, what thrives us in our lives. Are we grounded in our principles? Are we acknowledging our interconnectedness? And how what I do as an individual, what I say, can either positively affect my life and the lives of those around me, or whether it can potentially negatively affect. It's the aspect of moving through your levels of consciousness. Am I allowing my connection to the divine to move through me? Am I really anchored in the truth of who I am? And I think that not always, we're not always there, but we can move back to it quickly, especially if we're really anchoring in our spiritual practices. So one of the things that I think is very important, which we're here tonight as a community in interconnectedness and remembering, is community. That's the whole idea of being connected to someone, is that you're in a place, hopefully a chosen place, a place of love, a community that uplifts you, supports you, that there's some type of common ground, and that is such a superpower, to have a community where you get to participate in experiencing that connection with each other and with the one, knowing that God shows up in community in those places, and that when we really look deeply at our interconnectedness and our interdependence with each other, the bottom line is about building communities so that each of us can prosper together. And that's the whole concept that we anchor with Centers for Spiritual Living, is having a world that works for everyone. How do we build that in reality? How do we build that in the human experience? And it's through community and showing up in community, even when it's hard, when you may not want to, when the world is a little bit challenging. So I just think that it's important for us to understand how we show up, what is our commitment, not only to ourselves, but to each other and to the world that we are so deeply dependent upon. We're dependent upon the environment to breathe. We're dependent upon nature to help feed us. And that same energy, we're dependent upon each other. People are so connected that it really affects so many aspects of life. Your ability to move through those levels of consciousness. Am I coming from this place of spirit is what I am, and I can recognize that in myself and have the ability to see that in you? So when we think about our spiritual work in the lens that's happening in the world, can sometimes, speaking for myself, be very challenging to see my connection to people that I don't understand, that I don't choose to identify with for whatever reason, whether it's their behavior, their political beliefs. But knowing that that's somehow a part of this collective consciousness, and we are connected to the outcome of that. How do I anchor with that and move through when it's challenging? And I think that's where, it's probably said so many times, but it's the truth of where you use your spiritual practices to guide you through the challenging part of the human experience, to be able to see God in the whole situation, in the people that sometimes bring out your worst behaviors, your gut reaction. So, as Ali talked about, my career has been focused in helping people pretty much for several years. I started as a nurse in the hospital and then transitioned to take care of people that are shut into their home. My population of patients are all homebound, and it can be challenging in the aspect that their world consists in four walls, and most of their life is centered around managing chronic conditions. So how, in situations like that, where people are both mentally, oftentimes physically, dependent upon someone else to do almost everything that they need to survive, how in that do I find the beauty and the gift has been a challenge for me, but it's always helped guide me with having science of the mind, having these principles, knowing that interconnectedness, that spirituality is bringing joy in something simple as an interaction of showing up and seeing somebody that they may not see all the time, bringing something to a different place. And these principles have allowed me to see the gifts in that, but also to move through the challenges in that, because how connected you are to somebody, even people you don't know, is, in my experience, is evident when you see people that are struggling in their human condition, or maybe they're having experience of pain. But one of the things that is the most profound that I have found with my patients in my work is the people that have the ability to find joy in any situation, regardless of what's going on in their physical experience. And I bring that back to spirit, because they know that they have this unique energy. They've been able to live this life, and they're not defined by where they are now. And so they value that gift. They value that gift of life, and they value that human connection, demonstrating their own interdependence and human need just for basic love and belonging. So with some of the concepts that I think about beyond that is diversity and interconnectedness, because oftentimes we can be surrounded by people or situations, or in organizations of people you have something in common with, and as a result can feel a little bit disconnected to things that we may not understand. And so when I think of diversity and unity, it's the same concept of oneness, recognizing that the divine is in everyone, but that oneness does not have to mean that everything is the same and that everyone is like you, or that you will always understand. I think that's something personally that I've always struggle with, is trying to understand where someone may be coming from, understand someone's perspective. But if we come from the place of oneness, we don't always have to understand We just have to recognize the divine in everyone and allow them to be their own individual self and their own, demonstrate their own uniqueness, because that truly is our superpower and our way to evolve as individuals, just like the river dolphin, that we anchor in our uniqueness and evolve by expressing the truth of who we are in all aspects of our life. And then taking that uniqueness and your own individual power out into the world and contributing that energy, that love, that self-expression to the whole, so that we're all evolving to a different state, our level of consciousness in our life, and remembering everyone and everything that came before to get us to this place, to arrive where we are now, staying in the moment, but knowing that we are creating the next moment, the next manifestation, the next experience of life. We have a choice to consciously create what we want individually and together for the future. So I think that this topic is really a call to action, to not just remember, but to anchor in our oneness, to deepen our own connection with spirit and with each other, so that we can expand that concept of oneness out into the world, so that we can change some of the experiences that are the opposite of oneness, that are separation, that promote disconnection, that dishonor humanity and the divine in other people. One of the things that I find interesting with the river dolphin story is it's kind of reminds me of a creation story, which is not something that's very prevalent in Western culture, but in many wisdom traditions, there's lots of creation stories of how people came to be. It's very common in Native American history of, planting of the plants and how the stars developed in the sky and how we're all connected to that wisdom and that energy. So I think that it would be interesting to, if we kind of made a concept of visualization, to develop our own creation story of how we came to be, of where we're at now, and where we want to go, kind of projecting that vision into the future of our individual creation story of our personal evolution. So that is my question for everyone tonight, is if you imagine yourself as the river dolphin that started as a hippopotamus, potentially on land, became a dolphin and had to adapt to swimming in rivers of unknown clarity, of different depths, different forces of water, whether it's rushing water or shallow, murky water. How would you adapt your life, your story, to create a life of oneness, of interconnectedness with all of life, that works to really have that out picturing of a world that works for everyone, where everything is in harmony, where we honor the earth, we have reverence for nature and each other. And what can you do? What can you do in your daily practices, in your everyday life, to anchor in that, to anchor in what you want to create in the world?
Sounds like you're opening this up for discussion, so I'm going to invite everyone to turn on your cameras. Um, if you'd like to be called on, you can use technology to raise your hand or just wave at us and we'll try to find you.
I'll wait.
Kia, I think.
See, Reverend, I can, then Dodie.
Hi, the topic, I had to look up river dolphins and memory, because first of all, I don't even know anything about river dolphins. And so, never mind how memory got into this whole thing. But apparently, river dolphins have an amazingly long-lasting social memory. They also have a way of saying their names. They have what they call a signature whistle.
Mm.
And one river dolphin will remember the signal whistle of another one for as long as 20 years. So as they're going through their experience and they move from one group of river dolphins to the other, they can recognize their old friends. I think that's so cool. Anyway, I thought, wow. And apparently it's the longest social memory of any animal other than, compared to humans. And I guess I never really thought about any animal and their memory, never mind river dolphins. Um, and I was just fascinated. And they also can remember experiences like episodes. Sort of fascinating. Animals swimming in the water, having their water life, and understanding and remembering all these amazing things. Wow. I don't know. It just is such a blessing what the creator has done with each creature. Um, anyway, I guess I'm just commenting. I should be asking a question. Anyway, I'm complete.
I think both are fine. Dodie?
Um, I want to tell you, Megan, that was beautiful. Because I listened to the service on Sunday and I got something, but it wasn't as connected as you did tonight. I thought that was absolutely fabulous because I didn't connect river dolphins with rolling in the deep in the way that you did. So you did an excellent job. And it gave me another outcome of it. And I thought, because I kept thinking, rolling in the deep, they should say, like in religious science, many people will say, what is it? And what is religious science? What do you believe? We'll say something like, we believe in God, is everywhere present, or something to that effect. And they'll say, that's deep. And that's as far as it goes. But when you think about it, because for me, religious science has been such a growth process, and it's information that I didn't have in my head before I became a practitioner or became a part of the religious science church, that the life of God is everywhere all the time, expressing. And this, for me, is very, very deep. And as we continue to grow and expand in this truth, for me, we're rolling in the deep. And so I'm assuming when we brought the dolphins into it, it's because they are, we talked about changing and everything. we're rolling into the deep. So I want to tell you, I appreciate what you said. It was a beautiful presentation. Thank you. I'm complete.
Thank you, Debbie.
Alan, you're muted.
Yeah, I saw Maureen's hand and then Reverend Jacqueline.
Yeah, so Megan, thank you. That was really inspirational for me. Definitely, thinking about what our creation story is, or what my creation story is. I had to really think about that. Have I really decided what my creation story is going to be? And I don't think I have. And so that's something that I'm going to be thinking about, and about how you connected it to, what we can project forward. I think was really beautiful and did bring me to the deep, because that is what we should and could be doing to affect the race consciousness, to bring about change for the good. And so I just really appreciated the way that you put it, and for the call to action. So thank you.
I'm pretty much a ditto. I really appreciated the connectedness. I really also the using the people that you work with was kind of like Dodie was saying, that really brought it home in terms of both the oneness piece, but also in terms of we don't have to be isolated, even when conditions might look like that, might look like that. I took quite a few notes here. See, I have notes. So I really just wanted to say thank you, to see God in the whole situation, to see God showing up in the whole situation, seeing people struggling in the human condition is an opportunity to apply principles. And I really appreciate that you kept going back to that, applying principles. And the July 4th, independence over interdependence. Just thanks. Really good job. And not just kudos, good job, but thank you for the useful information that I can take out and maybe put in a talk too. But take out into my world, into my experience. Like actually today, I should have had the talk before I went to get my groceries. Because I just had a little where this idea, and even retrospectively, because I've been trying to apply like forgiveness or whatever principle is appropriate. But even in this moment, I'm able, from some of the things you said, to go back and spread some oneness on that kind of retroactively for that little, the detail of it does not matter at all, but for just a little, whatever it was. So thank you. I'm complete.
Thank you.
Dorothy, I saw your hand up and then it disappeared. Did you want to say something?
I just wanted to say thank you, Megan, for bringing this topic to our community as a backup. You have given me plenty of food for thought and to move forward in things that I had not thought about, and connecting with the one. And I know that some of the examples that you had given today, I take it back to my beloved Reverend Francione, who is going through her tribulation right now, but she is glowing, and she is also continually teaching us how to love, how to be. I'm in so awe of where she is. I love her to no end. Today is her birthday. She is 88 years old today, and she is one of my mentors, my loves, my everything. And I thank you for just bringing that to me, because it brought her to me as to what she's going through and giving me strength to move forward, regardless of the appearances of things, regardless of the Dolphins and how deep they may be. She's got it going on, and I am grateful. Thank you, Megan. Thank you for everything, sweetheart. I love it.
Dorothy.
It's Dodie again.
Okay, Megan, the people that you go to see at their homes, I don't know what book I read this in, but there is a story, and probably most of you come across it too, because religious science books, we kind of cycle through them. And it talks about two people in an old folks home.
Mm.
And one person was on the, I'll just do left, this is not really how the story went, but you'll get the gist. On the left side, she would talk. She said there was a window and she can look out and see the kids playing ball, and she can see the sunrise and the moon. And she described all of this stuff. And the person on the right side really was kind of jealous of this because she just was in the room. So the person on the left side passed away. And she was kind of happy because she was going to be able to take the left side's bed. And when she got over to the bed, the woman only had a wall. She didn't have her imagination for days with this appearance of activity outside. And I was thinking about your clients that are closed in, and you said something about how some of the clients are more imaginable. And I thought of that story because, you know, we do lock our own self in whatever situation we're in. And it's for me, I thought that was an amazing thing for this woman to do for herself every day. But this woman or man or what it was, I don't know if any of you guys have ever heard that story. Have you?
Mm-mm.
No. Well,
No.
well, good. Then I didn't mess it up too bad. Have a good day.
Yeah.
I like what you said about I can't remember the exact words, the choice to be happy, that it's a choice, that you know, we have what's going on in the world, and then since we are one with spirit, we always have that choice to be happy because that's who we are. Yeah.
I wanted to say too, Megan, like when you're working with these folks, do they like do you said, you know, like it's a choice or whatever, but is there something in particular that you notice that they, you know, the folks that are happy do or say or
They're just grateful. It's not like, I mean, you'll have some people that are, you know, most of my patients are 70 plus. I think my oldest patient's 106 years old. They're just grateful. It's not, you know, they may have these things wrong with them that they're grateful. Whatever is going on, they find joy just still being here. However that is. And then you have some people that say, you know, I've been here so long, I don't know why I'm still here. Um, they're grateful to be here. They're grateful that somebody's coming to see them. They're grateful if they have family or they have friends, and they're just grateful for what is. And it's funny because, you know, some of the people who are the opposite, the least, you know, all they want to do is complain. Most of the time they're probably the least sick of the people that I see, but to them, you know.
Mm.
So yeah. It's an attitude. It's just an attitude. I don't think it's necessarily a difference of condition, but it's an attitude. A mental consciousness.
What do you choose to focus on? Yeah.
Awareness.
Yeah, that's really, and that goes to show that it doesn't necessarily need to be a quote unquote spiritual or religious person, right? They don't need to be this religious or Christian or whatever. It's their thought process.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Hey, Judith, did you want to say something?
I do, but I think I've disappeared off the screen.
Yeah, we can't see you. Let's see if I can
I can hear you.
ask to start, see if that helps. Did you get a little notice to start your video?
I think she accidentally muted herself.
There she is.
There we go.
Has to unmute.
Okay.
Got it.
Oh, Megan, that was a lot of wisdom comparing us with, the lives of the dolphins and the lives of humans. But before this, I didn't really know anything about dolphins. And so there was a lot of joy. I learned, especially river dolphins. I didn't know anything about it. And now I feel even some sort of a kinship. It was amazing to me that they have a memory of someone that they knew, 20 years. They could still remember that person. Is that what you said?
I think Reverend Ikea said that. I didn't
Right.
find the information about the memory.
I just had to look that up because, well, it was in the topic, and I said, why are they talking about river dolphins and memory? And because they have this extraordinary social memory, and can remember, yeah, another river dolphin that they haven't seen, haven't heard. It isn't even seeing because they have the signature whistle.
Right.
And they recognize that, which is like you're saying, hi, I'm Judith. The dolphin has some way of saying a dolphin-like statement like that. And the other one will recognize him even after 20 years. That's kind of mind-blowing. Anyway, to me it is.
Yeah. And well, just having an awareness of a group of animals, fish, what are they? They're mammals, I guess. And I knew nothing about. So just bringing that into a talk and then comparing and showing what we're doing and your choices that I have to make. Whatever my life is on the outside, whatever the world's life is on the outside, somehow the feeling tone that I got out of what you said is about that I have choices. I have choices. And the people that you work with, even the ones that are the most ill, they have choices. They have choices in how they see themselves still in the world. And that is something that I want to think about, how whatever my life, see if in an ordinary way, what does it look like? But how do I feel about it? And that's one of the things that when you talked about those your patients or clients that you see on a regular basis, and some of them are just, they're just there putting in their time, but some of them are still living from their heart. And anyway, so I got that feeling from that. I appreciate that. And it allows me to go out and see the world a little differently.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm complete.
Unless someone has one more burning comment or question, I think we'll move on now. So let's give Megan some love. That was wonderful. Yay.
Yay.
Yay. Thank
Can't
you,
wait till the
Megan.
next time
Thank you.
you give a talk.
And thank all of y'all for your questions and comments. So we'll move now to our announcements. This Sunday, July 13th, Reverend Dr. Sunshine Michelle Coleman, our senior minister, will be speaking on Breathe. It's Shark Week. We went from dolphins to sharks. Meditation starts at 10, followed by the service at 10:30. On Wednesday, July 16th, join Sean Dugan at our midweek Oasis service for an encore discussion on the same topic, Breathe, It's Shark Week. The meditation is at 6:30 and the service is at 7, and it's all on Zoom. The tickets for our 80th anniversary gala on September 20th are on sale right now. You can get your early bird tickets at a 10% discount by visiting oaklandcsl.org/events. And our 80th anniversary bag is now available in the bookstore. Please join the Ministry of Prayer for our Friday night prayer happy hour on July 11th from 7 to 8 p.m. on Zoom. This is weekly on Fridays except for the fourth Friday of the month. Practitioners Maureen Milena and Megan Lemon extend an open invitation to anchor in prayer with your spiritual community. And you can get the Zoom link at oaklandcsl.org/events. 2025 Open Forum will be held on Sunday, July 27th at 1 p.m. We encourage in-person participation, but you can also join online if you can't come in person. All are encouraged to attend, and our monthly community potluck will be held after the service and prior to the forum. So please join my practitioner Maureen Milena after service on July 20th at 1 p.m. for a 2-hour workshop, Stand in Your Truth, the Spiritual Practice of Boundaries. This is an interactive experience exploring boundaries as a sacred practice that honors our spiritual integrity, energy, and truth. Learn to uphold healthy boundaries with clarity and compassion, and this is offered on a love offering basis. Registration is coming soon. Please join Irene Sardenis for a Sit Right Down writing workshop, that's a mouthful, on Sunday, August 3rd, 1 to 3 p.m. in the social hall. Bring a pen and paper, and prompts will be offered to inspire you. No writing experience necessary. We encourage a love offering, but no one will be turned away for lack of funds. And you can visit oaklandcsl.org/classes/workshops for more information. Our nonprofit partner for July-August is Inside Circle, a nonprofit dedicated to fostering personal growth and healing among individuals impacted by the justice system, creating transformative programs for people inside the prison system and programs for currently and formerly incarcerated youth transitioning back into society, and much more. You can visit their website at insidecircle.org for more information. The Spirit Treasure Bookstore celebrates July with Meditating in the Garden as their theme. The items featured on our 30% off table include Buddha garden statues, malas, wind chimes, singing bowls, and journals. And be sure to pick up your Oakland CSL 80th anniversary bag for $15 plus taxes. So now we are transitioning to our conscious giving time. Conscious giving is a celebration, it's an expression of gratitude, and it's also a spiritual practice. In giving, we celebrate our community and express gratitude for all the folks who give of their time, talent, and treasure to sustain it. We also acknowledge our place in the flow of universal power and abundance, and we put our intentions for greater experiences of abundance into action. So in that spirit, please read along with me as we do our giving affirmation. And if you're muted, feel free to read out loud. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies this offering. It blesses all that I am, all that I give, and all that I circulate. Thank you, love, as me. And so it is. So if you check out the slide that we can see now, there are numerous ways to give. You can go to the red donate button on our website, which will take you to a page where it lists all the different ways you can give by check or Zelle or cash or all sorts of other things. And then finally, we'd like to express our appreciation for those who have offered their time, talent, and their presence to tonight's service. Our speaker and meditator, Megan Lemon. We always like to thank the ministers who are present. So Reverend D. Jacqueline visiting us tonight, and Reverend Ikea. Our tech host tonight, Freddie Lambright. Our administrative coordinator working in the background, Steve Carter. And finally, all of you, everyone who showed up tonight, who offered your presence and made this service what it was. And now I will transition to Megan, who's going to do our closing prayer for us.
All right, so just go ahead and take a deep breath in and letting it go. Just turning into that, knowing that truth of the one perfect life, the power and presence that moves and lives in each and every one of us, knowing that we are all that divine energy, and that energy expresses individually as each of us. Whether we choose to be the hippopotamus or the dolphin, we know that we are unfolding in that divine energy, that divine wisdom to express all God all the time. And so I just give thanks for everyone who came tonight. I give thanks for our time together. I bless us as we go on through the rest of our evening and the week, knowing that we are embraced in that divine energy. And I just release this truth to the law, anchoring it by saying, and so it is. Amen.
And so it is. So y'all can turn your mics on if you like, your cameras. We'll have a little chance to say hello and goodbye to everybody. We didn't even get a chance to say hello to Lula. And she's already gone.